I would take high offense with that, Mr. Harpootlian.
I'm concerned about your high offense. Are you angry at him for stealing your money?
I have no feeling one way or the other.
You don't have any feeling about Alex Murdaugh betraying you and stealing your money.
I have had anger with him, extreme anger, Mr. Harpootlian, because of what he did to my law firm, my partners, my client, his clients, our clients, what he did to his family. You are dead wrong if you think I've come in here and told this jury something because of money. When we're talking about two people who were brutally murdered, then you're headed in the wrong direction.
What do you think, Geragos? You know Harpootlian. Did he overplay his hand?
No, I don't think so. And let me tell you why. I've seen, obviously, reporters sitting in the courtroom who put their notes out that said jury hates Harpootlian and things of that nature. One of the little secrets I will give you about jury trials is there used to be an old expression, it's one after the opening statement. I, many years ago, said, no, it's one in jury selection. Basically, when you have 12 people in a jury, you're going to have 2 or 3 people that are going to drive the verdict. And they already will have kind of set up, if you will, as soon as you put them in the jury box. They are going to identify with one side or the other already, long ago. And they're going to use that person as their navigator, as their guide.
Right.
So if they already are predisposed to the defense, they're not going to buy anything that the ex-partners was saying or was trying to sell. If they're not, then yes, I can see where they would feel like some of those jurors who are posting their notes.
Right.
It's already predetermined. Already predetermined.
Except what may happen tomorrow. And Richard Gabriel, I'm very happy to have you here because you were working on the O.J. case. What is your thought about the impact it had on that case and could have on this case, therefore, to have the jurors get to walk around pretty much unmolested and undirected at the scene of the crime?
Well, it's actually critical to jurors because they've been hearing this sort of two-dimensional verbal recount of all these kind of very intimate details about the space and about these people. And they get to be there. They get to be there in the scene itself. And in O.J. it was important for quite a different reason because, you know, we wanted the jury to really have a feel for O.J. and his life. We wanted to give them an impression of his lifestyle, who he was. We obviously wanted to highlight his accomplishments and his family and to give them a sense of him as a personal. We wanted to humanize him for the jury. That was that really thing, as opposed to this, which is really getting the jurors to better understand the spatial relationship, the timing, the distance, because ultimately they're going to have to go back in that jury room and do a recreation to figure out, can it happen? Could he have done it in that space? What's the time and the distance that he has to go up to the house? And can he wash himself if he's covered with stuff? Is he going to be able to hear the gunshots if for some reason he's not there? All of those things gives it just more tangible, concrete evidence because they're there. It's really important.
Right. Eric Bland, what do we know about how this will go tomorrow? Does Murdaugh get to be there the way O.J. was, kind of shadowing the jurors? Do they get to set anything up for how it will be seen? What does this mean to you?
We haven't heard whether Alex is going to be able to go. I would highly doubt it. I think the prosecution was against it, Chris, because it's not an apples and apples comparison. If this was to be done at 8:45 at night when it was dark and you have the quiet of the rural country area, that may be more consistent with the testimony. But going tomorrow and in the middle of winter when the trees are bare, the leaf trees at least are bare, and some have overgrown, I'm not sure that it's going to be enough for the jurors to really understand it. Remember, they can't talk to each other. They can't ask questions. The attorneys have to stand back. And it could create some confusion in the jury room depending on what people remember about testimony as opposed to what they remember when they go look. I think they're definitely going to go look at the feed room where Paul was shot. They're going to try to estimate how far Maggie's body was from Paul's, and obviously they're going to look from the kennels up to the house and check the distance and see to themselves and hear, is it reasonable to assume that they could hear gunfire?
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.